Hi, I'm Ronan Kavanagh, CEO of WebTitan Technologies. We're here today to take a look at the WebTitan filtering appliance. But before we do that, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to the company, a higher level overview of WebTitan, its deployment options and pricing models. The company itself was set up in 1999, and since then we've launched numerous products to meet the growing requirements of our customers. We launched WebTitan in 2006, a cluster version in 2009, and WebTitan itself in late 2009. Since then, we've seen our customer numbers grow to several thousand customers in over 100 countries. We've received numerous awards and peer reviews. Our customers range in size from as little as 10 users right through to universities, K-12s, and internet service providers. So what do? We produce software-based gateway web filtering tools. We monitor, control, and protect users, organizations, and their networks when they're online. We offer our product in two formats, an ISO and a virtual appliance. The ISO allows you to convert any x86-based hardware into a dedicated WebTitan filtering gateway. This is typically deployed between the firewall and the organization. Our virtual appliance can be deployed on any of the market-leading hypervisors, including VMware, Hyper-V, or Xen. We were one of the first VMware-ready certified appliances on the marketplace. And the virtual option, used by 60% of our customers, gives you flexibility, scalability, and redundancy. The WebTitan Gateway is a feature-rich, highly granular policy product. It allows you to control users when online. It includes file blocking, safe search, AV malware protection, anti-phishing. It integrates with Active Directory, offering full or transparent proxy options. It allows for bandwidth controls, delegated administration, and comprehensive reporting. All of these features are included irrespective of which license you purchase, and we have a very simple pricing model based on wide bands of users. Pricing includes all software support, maintenance, and updates. Now, let's take a look at the WebTitan appliance. So when we enter WebTitan, we're provided with an intuitive dashboard. This gives an overview of how the product is performing, both the hardware and the web filtering. So we get a snapshot of what users are up to, the number of requests, what's been blocked, what's been allowed, what categories people are trying to access, and what categories are being blocked. Now, let's look at how we set up WebTitan on your network. When you download WebTitan, you'll be provided with a free 30-day license, and this can be loaded here. Once this is loaded, we need to set WebTitan up on your network. Very simply, we give it a host name, we give it an IP address on the network, and a default route, typically the IP address of your outgoing firewall. We need to tell WebTitan which DNS server to contact for lookups, and we can specify multiple DNS servers if necessary. WebTitan sends out multiple email notifications, therefore we need to input the IP address of the mail server in your organization. Once we're up and running on the network, we need to decide whether we're going to set WebTitan up as a full or a transparent proxy. If it's a full proxy, we just specify the proxy port number. Alternatively, we can set WebTitan up as a transparent proxy. We offer two options, inline, or if you're using Cisco equipment, you can avail of the WCCP option. So once WebTitan is set up on the network, we need to decide whether to set it up as a full proxy or a transparent proxy. If using it as a full proxy, we simply specify the port number. Alternatively, we can use WebTitan in transparent mode. If using it in transparent mode, we offer two options, inline pass-through, or alternatively WCCP if you're using Cisco equipment. When in transparent mode, we can also set up rules to either block or allow access to different ports, effectively providing application blocking. So, for example, we might block the network from accessing different ports based on certain applications, such as peer-to-peer or streaming. If choosing to use the standard proxy, we need to redirect the user's web browsers to pass through the WebTitan appliance. To do this, we use the auto-configuration option. Either using Microsoft's GPO or our own WPAD option, we can redirect automatically users' browsers so that they pass through the WebTitan product. Once this is done, we need to choose an authentication method. WebTitan offers a number of different authentication methods, including LDAP, IP, or NTML. Most of our users choose the NTML option, so when users log on to your own network, they're automatically logged on to the WebTitan appliance, thus providing transparent authentication for the end users. Now that's the product up and running on the network. The next thing we need to do is import our users and groups. We recommend that you use Active Directory to manage users and groups in WebTitan. We provide WebTitan with your Active Directory credentials, and from that point on, users and groups are managed through your Active Directory server. Within WebTitan, we can then see users, what users are on the product, and what groups those users are in. We also have visibility of the groups themselves and the policies that those groups are assigned. So the next thing we need to do is to create a policy. So quite simply, users are members of groups and groups are assigned policy, and it's those policies that dictate how those users can use the internet. So let's go ahead and create a policy. So when creating the policy, we have the option to use an existing policy as a template. So in this case, we'll choose our system default policy. So the first thing we need to do is give the policy a name. And a description. The next thing we do is to define working and non-working hours. So for example, we might decide lunchtime is a non-working hour every day between 12 and 1 p.m. Once we do this, we choose what categories of website people are allowed to access during work and non-working hours. So for example, we might decide that we never want people to access alcohol sites, but it's okay for them to access art sites during non-work hours, but not during work hours. But we always want to block access to things like hate speech, gambling, pornography, etc. There are 53 different categories of websites consisting of hundreds of thousands of different URLs. You can also create your own 10 customizable categories that you can create yourself. The next thing we need to do is assign additional web filtering rules if we want to. So we can do things like block access to IP addresses and URLs. Specify whether people are allowed to access HTTP or HTTPS traffic during work or non-work hours. Decide what to do if someone tries to get to a site that's unclassified, whether you will allow access or block access to that site till you deem it appropriate that they can get to that site. There is URL content filtering and page content filtering. Through a scoring system, we decide if people can access URLs irrespective of what categories they're in. For example, the word pornography may have a score of 100, and if that word appears in the URL, the user will be prohibited from accessing that website. We can put limits on the size of pages that people download. We can also decide to log but not block users from accessing websites. So tell people that there is a policy in place, but actually just trust them to adhere to that policy. We can specify file types that users are prohibited or allowed from accessing. So you may decide within your organization that a certain group of people have no requirement for audio or video files and may wish to block those. We have a safe search option. So in this instance, using any of the major search engines, we can force a safe search option in those search engines. We have multiple notifications that you can set up. So by inputting your email address here, you'll be sent notifications based on the rule sets that you require. So for example, you may wish to be informed if someone tries to access an unclassified site. or if someone is trying to access gambling sites, etc. And finally, for the policy, we can create bandwidth limits. So you can specify how many megs of bandwidth people can access in a given 24-hour period. So once we've saved our policy, we can then go back and assign that policy to a group. So in this instance, we'll take the IT department, and we'll now assign them our new demo on demand policy. And from this point on, users within the IT department will be guided by the policy we've just created. Over and above the policy creation, we can also see further information on the different categories that are within the product. So some information on that. We can also look up specific URLs to find out how they're classified within the different categories. If we come across an unclassified URL, we may decide, for example, to report it back to the WebTitan appliance. We can recommend what category we believe it should be in. As I mentioned earlier, you can create 10 customizable categories and add additional URLs should you want to. So we'll call it the category demo on demand, and we can add URLs as we need to here. Within Active Directory, a user may be a member of several different groups. So we can decide within the product whether the most restrictive or the least restrictive a policy should apply to a user when they're in several groups. That's simply turned on or off through this setting here. So within WebTitan, we also have additional filtering options. We can create whitelists and blacklists to prevent people accessing different websites or whitelist those websites. We auto-enable Microsoft updates to bypass the product. We can create keywords that we want blocked if they appear in URLs, and we can add those keywords here. The Content tab provides the keywords used in the URL and the page content filtering. The product comes with antivirus, and we can enable or disable that antivirus here. We can specify not only file types, but the individual files themselves that we want blocked as part of the policies. And we also have a redirection tool. So should a user go to one website, we can actually force them to be redirected to another website. The product has 3 areas of updates: system updates, category definition, and virus definitions, and all are auto-updating. So with the system updates, you simply input your email address here. And as any new releases come out from ourselves, you will be informed of those releases, and you can come in here, read the release notes, and install at your leisure. For category definitions, again, this can be set to auto-update every day, and these will be just downloaded and installed on the product. We have the option within the product to skip the local definitions and just go directly to our cloud-based database, which backs up the local database. And virus definitions, similar to the category definitions, can be set to auto-update every hour. You can customize the interface for your own organization. So import your own logos, change the color scheme of the whole product, and also create the access denied page that users will see should they try and access a website that they're prohibited from doing so. There are advanced options in that, so if you have CSS skills, you can really get very granular and create any kind of block page that suits your organization. We can see the type of block page now that users will receive should they try and access a prohibited site. We can restrict access to the UI either by HTTP or HTTPS, and we also have a backup feature allowing you to back up your WebTitan configuration and schedule that backup perhaps to happen every day, So in the event of any problems with your existing WebTitan, you can simply download a new version from our website and import the backup file and get up and running very, very quickly. We have delegated management options within the product. So we can create administration options based on full administration privileges, report managers, or policy managers. So for example, we may want to create a HR policy manager, and we'll provide local authentication or LDAP-based authentication. So if it's local, we'll create a password here. And we want to give the HR manager the ability to create policies for the organization, but not have access to the rest of the site. So we can create a policy manager, and then we can include only policies that restrict or that are relevant to their area. So for example, the demo on demand policy that we just created. So this person will only have access to the demos on demand policy and can edit that policy and that policy only. Likewise, we can create report managers, and similar to the policy manager, we can restrict this down to include report managers for groups that are only relevant to their area. So we may want to create a sales report manager so that they only have access to the sales group and can create reports based on the sales group's activity only. WebTitan offers a full and comprehensive reporting suite. Our History tab gives us a real-time view of users' activity as they browse the web. It also includes a full and comprehensive search engine. So we can look, for example, based on users, and it'll auto-prompt users. We can look at from source IP, whether they were allowed or blocked from accessing categories of websites, or the specific categories that they tried to access. So what we see here is that user Jim from this source IP was allowed to access this website. It was a computers and technology website, and Jim is a member of the IT department. So this is particularly useful if a user is trying to access a website and doesn't understand why they're being blocked. This will show us. The report themselves allow you to pretty much create a report on any activity based on users browsing. So we can specify times, and then we can get very granular using a number of predefined reports within the product based on behavior, bandwidth, trends, or security. And all of these can be further filtered down using the filter option. So our basic user report will give us a list of the users and their activity. We can further drill down then and see what domains or URLs or categories that those users went to. So for example, we can see that Jim Tobin went to the following domains in the last 24 hours. All of these reports can be exported to PDF, or alternatively, we can schedule them. So we can create line reports to send to key management based on weekly, daily periods, whatever suits ourselves. The filter option allows you to get very granular on the reporting. So we can create a top-level report based on users and then create a filter to really create an individual customized report. So for example, we want to create a user report based on an individual user. We can create a filter to allow us to do that. So we'll call this the demo on demand filter, and we want to base it on an existing user. It'll auto-prompt the users that we want. So let's look at Jim, and we will add Jim Tobin. So now we've created a customized user report based on the user Jim Tobin. We can further specify filters that we want to use. So do we want to specify groups or categories that Jim Tobin tried to access? So we can include, for example, let's go computers. And if there's any specific times we want to search on, or source IP addresses, or actual URLs that Jim tried to access. So we can save that filter, and then we can use that filter on our user report. And we can now see that Jim Tobin went to the Computers and Technology report 6,957 times in the last 24 hours. We can drill down further and then see which domains Jim went to within that category, a website. So this filter tool allows us to create as many defined and granular reports as we need to. So similar to the standard reports, again, these reports can be exported to PDF, CSV, or scheduled. WebTitan gathers a huge amount of information on users' activities. And by default, we retain that information for 90 days. Should you begin to exhaust the resources, the underlying resources and memory available, WebTitan will automatically reduce the retention period and notify you that it is doing so. In that instance, we recommend that you keep the log files stored off the WebTitan product and ideally utilize the remote syslog option within the product. Finally, the support tab allows us to provide you the support to keep your product up and running. Remote support is provided through the secure tunnel option. This allows you to create a reverse SSH tunnel so that our support engineers can come onto your appliance securely and diagnose and solve any issues that you may have. There are additional diagnostic tools also available. So I hope this demonstration has allowed you to get an insight into the powerful malware protection offered by WebTitan and the granular policy engines that allows you to ensure the highest level of productivity when you're within your organization. There's a free 30-day trial available on our website. Simply go to webtitan.com and you can download and install on your own virtual environment. If you have any questions, please contact us at info@webtitan.com. Thank you very much for your time today.